Yes, y'all. From the Dave Campbell's Texas Football Mothership and headquarters of Murphy's Law, it is DCTF Live, an internet show. My name is Greg Tepper. I am the managing editor of Dave Campbell's Texas Football, a magazine, texasfootball.com, a website. Thank you for spending part of your day with us. Whether you're watching us live at texasfootball.com, which is a minor miracle, or you are listening to us on the podcast, which you can subscribe to on iTunes. Either way, thank you very, very much for doing your part to help America. I am sitting here.
Does that help America?
Yep. I am sitting over there, transcribing something is Max Thompson. You're writing down our guest's number.
Writing down John King's number. I want to make sure I don't get that wrong.
So,
but yeah, the computer not cooperating today.
Friday, August 19th, 2016, episode 185 number of appearances for Brian Schaus in his illustrious Texas Rangers career. And we teased it. You heard it here. We will be joined around 12:15, about 15 minutes from now, by John King, head coach of the Longview Lobos, the Rockin' L. A lot of questions for Coach King. A lot of questions about what it's like to be. This is a weird question.
Okay.
Do you think he's the most powerful man in Longview? Right? But think about it.
He's in the conversation. I'm not going to go that far, but he's in the conversation.
It's like him or the mayor, right?
Sure.
This is a guy who, Longview is such a football crazy city.
Sure.
And here
it's
he
East
is.
Texas, baby.
And here he is, the head coach of the Lobos, a team that wins state championships, a team that is perennially one of the best teams in East Texas. Excited to talk to Coach King. I think
he'll reject the notion, but I think
I'll ask him.
It's fair.
I'll ask him. In a moment, we got some headlines, including bad news for Texas A&M, maybe worse news for Baylor. We will get into whether or not this is the worst offseason ever for
Texas?
Baylor. We'll get into that in just a moment.
One team, sure.
So tonight, Max,
yeah.
You as is well documented on this show, you are rich.
Yes. Filthy so.
You are extremely rich.
This is a side hobby for me.
Yes. You're very rich.
Yeah.
And so we you are used to being wined and dined.
Oh.
Wining and dining.
Boy.
You are.
Let me tell you.
You do that, I would say,
all
the time?
I mean, if I don't get my foie gras every day.
Sure.
I'm pretty fussy.
You really are. So I'm not. I'm the commoner.
You're a plebeian.
I'm the commoner.
Yeah.
I'm the common man.
Sure.
But tonight,
I
am not. So
Why?
It is in Dallas, and I think they do this in a lot of different cities. It is this is Restaurant Week.
Yes.
You're familiar with this?
Right.
You're familiar with this idea?
Cut you a deal to come on into the fancy places.
It's a prefix.
Yeah.
Where you come in, you spend X amount of dollars, and you can then afford to go to really fancy restaurants.
Right.
And so we are going, myself and my wife, and then friends of ours. We are going out to Stephen Piles.
Mm-hmm.
Stephen Piles is a relatively well-known Dallas chef, and he has a restaurant called Stampede 66, which is a modern Texas cuisine restaurant. This is a place that's got fried chicken. It's got quail.
It's got good stuff.
So I'm gonna get dressed up and eat fancy. I'm gonna live that Max Thompson life. For one evening.
Yeah.
Might wear slacks. How about that?
Yeah. You should.
What is the? Let's ask a very uncomfortable question that we didn't.
Sure.
That I didn't anticipate asking.
Yeah, go for it.
Now, what is the most you've ever spent on one meal?
Okay.
Assuming
my wife and I.
Your wife and I. We want to count out obviously the meal at your wedding was very expensive. But let's say the most you've ever spent on one meal for you and your wife. This is.
Now,
keeping in mind that you did live in New York for a long time, which is,
and this is where the story is going to come from,
quite pricey.
I assume as a watcher of food shows, you're aware of Eric Repair and Le Bernardin in New York City.
I am.
One of the most famous restaurants in the world.
It is, I believe, a Michelin.
Probably,
Michelin-rated.
I think, by any metric, one of the top 10 restaurants in the world.
Right. So you went there?
My wife and I went there, and I believe our final tab was between $800 and $900.
Jeez.
It's a lifetime experience, though, and part of it, in our defense, part of it was funded as a wedding gift. Mm-hmm. So we didn't pay the full tab. Right. But if you're asking what the full tab was,
you had a coupon.
We had a coupon, and I would still probably venture to guess that that's more than I've ever spent, even with that. On a meal. I mean, that was by far. Let's be clear. I am not spending $300 every time I go out for dinner. I don't spend a lot. Yeah. I don't want to do that. But how do you not do that?
Sure.
Right.
It
was a wedding gift, and we go.
Oh my gosh!
It's a wedding gift, and you go. Well, we have to go.
Well, and it's the kind of thing like one of the.
It's a lifetime experience.
One of the most decorated restaurants in the world is Nobu. It's the restaurant in Amsterdam, and we didn't make it to Amsterdam when we went to Europe. But I'll tell you that if we went to Amsterdam, I would very seriously consider, knowing full well that that's going to cost probably more than $1,000 for two of us. Yeah. But knowing that. Just that experience of being like, you know what? I ate at the greatest restaurant in the world. Yeah. That might be worth it. It will not be. Well, I think I probably spent like $350 on a dinner once. You know, like that's probably. But that's with wine and stuff, and that's where they get you.
I mean, I'm not doing myself.
How was the food though?
Oh, it was unbelievable. Yeah. Right. It's a surreal, life-changing.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what the best part about a place like that is? Especially because you are in New York, right? The number of people in there who that's just like a Tuesday night to them. Mm-hmm. Like,
my God.
There was a couple that I think were younger than us on a date at Le Bernardin. God knows what they're spending, right? Mm-hmm. Like I think we went like on a Tuesday night because it's the only time we could get in, right? They're just on their phones, not even paying attention to each other, like barely.
Whereas you're there and you're like,
right? I'm like I'm taking deep breaths between like each serving, each course. I'm like, ooh, yes, okay,
I want to center myself.
I'm going to remember this moment forever.
We do this restaurant week every year, and we try to go to a different restaurant, like a different kind of fancier restaurant, and I always think that same thing. It's like here I am, or like when you go out like on your anniversary with your wife or something like that. You'll go out to a nice dinner. You know, you'll fork out a little bit of money. It's worth it. It's your anniversary. Sure. And and just the notion of like looking around and being like, this is Thursday for these people. Like this is how they eat all the time. They don't know any other way. So
yeah, I will say. So you're going to do that this evening. I would say the most similar restaurant I've been to, not Piles, but Bonnell's.
Yes.
Out in Fort Worth. I think John Bonnell. Is
very, very good.
That's definitely your Southwest fine Texas cuisine, and worth every penny.
I hope because it's you get to pick from a certain part of the menu. You can't just order anything. But I'm kind of hoping they got the quail. I might.
The quail was good the night we went.
I'm excited.
So you should do it.
We are DCTF Live. We're here every weekday at noon talking football in the Lone Star State. You can follow us on Twitter. You can like us on Facebook. You can follow us on Instagram. And we have a website. One thing, programming note. Starting next week, because we are then in season, Mondays and Fridays.
Do you want to do an hour long on Monday? This Monday? We're not recapping anything from the weekend.
That's a good point.
But we could also blow out some previews.
No. I think you're right, because what we want, I want the first Friday of Texas high school football to be special.
Sure.
So we'll do the 1 hour mega
preview.
Show.
Sure.
Starting on Friday, but then starting a week from today. We will have 1 hour shows every Monday and Friday here on Texas Football.
Friday should be longer. Maybe we should do an hour and a half on Fridays.
Let's not get up. Dude, I have to do...
But you could run...
Friday, I have to do 3 hours of
live TV.
But
what if 10 minutes of that is fixing to pick them anyway? Like, what if we played that for our viewers and listeners?
We'll talk about it.
All right.
Okay, we got some headlines to roll through before we talk to John King from Longview. First and foremost, some bad news for Texas A&M. Texas A&M defensive back safety Justin Dunning.
We're just talking about how good this secondary is going to be.
out for the year with a torn ACL. He suffered the injury earlier, and this is coming from Brent Zwerneman at the Houston Chronicle. Dunning suffered the injury earlier in the week during camp. Someone said that at the time the sophomore was being evaluated. He played in 11 games last year, and he was listed. He's their free safety, and he's their backup free safety. They've still got Armani Watts, and they've still got Justin Evans and Larry Pryor. So they're not toast, okay? This isn't a huge thing, but for a secondary that in the rough and tumble SEC, you're going to need depth.
Yeah.
You're going to need depth of bodies. This is just another kind of chink in the armor.
Would you openly weep if anything happened to Armani Watts?
Yes. Oh, there are about 5 players in Texas that if they got hurt, I would be
struggle.
I would be really, really upset.
Aaron Jones was tough.
Aaron
last
Jones,
year.
of course, that was really tough for me.
Last year.
Now knowing him, if Pat Mahomes gets hurt, that's really going to hurt for me.
Yeah.
Armani Watts. Who else? Jarvion Williams. If Jarvion Williams gets hurt at UTSA, I'm going to be really, really sad.
Myles Garrett would be.
Myles Garrett, but I don't want to give 2 for each. And honestly, Garrett.
The thing with Myles Garrett is, he'll be okay.
Exactly. He'll be fine. He's going to get rich. Yeah. If there's one other guy that I think I would be really sad if they got hurt, maybe Malik Jefferson. Like if Malik Jefferson got hurt, that would just hit me in the guts.
Yeah.
Like,
Cortland Sutton.
Cortland Sutton
would be another one.
There's.
Did you say Jeffrey Wilson already?
Oh yeah, Jeffrey.
That'd be
Wilson.
another one.
There's a few.
There's like a guy at every program.
We should do a list of guys who we are unabashedly rooting for.
Yeah.
we should do that. So that's one bad news for A&M. Justin Dunning done for the year with a torn ACL. Hey Max, it's been a minute since we talked about something terrible happening at Baylor. A story now breaking. There is a video obtained by KXXV News Channel 25 in Waco. Shows wide receiver Ishmael allegedly shows Baylor wide receiver Ishmael Zamora hitting his dog with a belt and kicking it. Jim Grobe, the Baylor coach, has told the Waco Tribune-Herald that he will be disciplined, but will continue to practice with the Bears football team. We'll see how this all shakes out, but
I wonder if they're going to have enough players to field a team by the time the season gets here.
I'm sorry, but
it's not the same.
And certainly, this is I don't want to make value. I don't want to make moral and make moral equivalencies of what's good and what's bad, because it's all bad. Okay, it's all bad, and obviously the victims of sexual assault are obviously the number one priority here, and I don't think there's really any question about that.
But this is despicable.
This is gross.
Yeah,
this is gross. Dude, a dog.
Yeah,
a dog. Dogs are great. Follow We Rate Dogs on Twitter. If you don't follow them, all they are is that they tweet pictures of dogs and they rate them, and they're great because dogs are great. Come on, Ishmael Zamora.
Unreal.
Terrible. We'll see. We'll follow that story, see what comes. And then, friend of the program, friend of Dave Campbell's Texas football. His name is in Dave Campbell's Texas football this year.
Yeah.
Bill Connolly.
Yeah.
The esteemed.
We should get him on for a quick FBS preview.
I was thinking maybe the radio hour next week.
Ooh, that'd be fun too.
I was thinking that on the
that'd
way
be
in the office.
Yeah.
Bill Connolly, of course, is a football nerd, and he is my leader. And he has completed his 128 team preview on SBNation.com. That's right. Bill Connolly previewed every team in the nation.
This started in May, I think.
He did.
Yeah.
He did. He started in May with Bowling Green or something like
North
that.
Texas.
Yes, North Texas maybe. And then he just kind of rolled through all 128. You can see them all at TexasFootball.com, SBNation.com. But one thing I want to bring up is that he does have his rankings, and this is he works with Football Outsiders, which is another site that I adore, an advanced metrics site. And so, very interesting. You look at in the Big 12, he has Oklahoma number 1 and TCU number 2, but he has that Oklahoma and TCU in tier 1.
Right.
So they're saying it's Oklahoma, TCU, and everyone else.
Yeah.
I think that's probably right. I think
that's kind of what we've come to at this point, right?
I think you'd say Oklahoma and TCU are 1 and 2, probably Oklahoma number 1, The only question would be, do you put Oklahoma State for me in Tier 1 or Tier 2?
You're higher on Oklahoma State than a lot of people.
I am. He's got them number 3, Baylor number 4. Baylor, of course, he says, he writes, for obvious reasons, for perhaps obvious reasons, I had no idea what to do with Baylor. In a vacuum, I would have ranked them 3rd and considered them for the top tier, but roster attrition in the last 2 months and the sheer oddity of playing under a different head coach under these circumstances, I bumped them down a spot to
That's
4.
fair.
Texas is 5.
Sure.
Texas Tech is 7. But he said, and he puts Texas Tech in Tier 3, but also says any of these teams could end up in Tier 2, which means as high as number 3 in the conference.
Here's what
which
I
think
know.
is fair. I think Tech. We look at them and the way that we project them. We think there's a decent chance they rise to like number 3 in the conference.
Here's what I know about both Texas FBS teams and the Big 12. Both scenarios. There's going to be a team here that everyone is underestimating that is really going to emerge, and the coach is going to get serious props by the end of the season. And there's a team here that's really going to disappoint us all, and it's going to be a bigger tire fire than we really ever expected.
Correct. It might be Oklahoma State, maybe end up being that tire fire.
Just as a rule, that's what happens.
Yeah, and it may be like Kansas State.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, it seems crazy, but maybe Kansas puts it all together and becomes a viable middle-of-the-pack team, which would really change the shape of the Big 12. In the SEC, he ranks Texas A&M 8th, behind Alabama, LSU, Ole Miss, Tennessee, Georgia, Arkansas, and Mississippi
That's a lot of
State.
teams.
Has them ahead of Florida, Auburn, Missouri, Vanderbilt, Kentucky, and South Carolina. I think 8's probably fair.
Right in the middle of the pack.
I think that I think that if they were in the SEC East, I think that they would have
a lot of people picking them lower than that. So I think that's a pretty measured.
I think if they were in the SEC East, they may have a bigger. But here's the crazy thing is that if you put Texas A&M 8th in the conference, that means they're second to last in their
division.
In their division.
It's skewed. That division is so much tougher than the East.
And then he has a
toughest
a
division
ranking
in college
of
football.
He does go conference by conference, but what I think is more fun is he ranks all 63 non-Power 5 teams. Number 1, H-Town Takeover. Houston Cougars, capable of making and winning a major bowl is what he says. He ranks them number 1, the best non-Power 5 team in the nation. Don't think that's necessarily out of line. No. I have my questions about Houston are well documented. I worry about that secondary, but and I worry about their wide receiver core. But I also look at them and say they've got one of the best coaches in the nation, and they've got a sensational quarterback, and that's going to be enough to win a lot of games. Let's see. Elsewhere, as far as Texas teams are concerned, oh no,
it's not good after that.
Number 38 in under what he's calling "Hey, you never know" is SMU, 38th.
True.
Rice is 45th. UTEP is 53rd. UTSA is 54th. North Texas is 58th. Texas State is 59th. The good thing is he does not have any Texas teams in the bottom 4, which he just marks with a frowny face.
That's too bad.
So check all that stuff out. Bill Connolly's work at SB Nation is out of control. So go check that out, sbnation.com. Follow him on Twitter. I think it's SBN_Bill C. Follow him there. We are DCTF Live. We're here every weekday at noon on TexasFootball.com, talking football in the Lone Star State. Follow us on Twitter. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram, and we have a website. We're at DCTF on Twitter. We are Facebook.com/Dave Campbell's. We're Instagram.com/Dave Campbell's, and TexasFootball.com. We are very excited about football season. It is right around the corner. We have just 6 days until Texas high school football season. The first game, I believe, is kicking off at 4 o'clock Central Time out in El Paso. El Paso Americas is playing El Paso El Dorado. I tweeted it yesterday. But the first game will happen Thursday afternoon. But one guy who is very excited, I imagine, understandably so, to get the season going is the head coach of the Longview Lobos. We are so happy to be joined by Coach John King. Coach, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing fine.
I imagine that this time of year is a fun time of year for you.
It is a fun time. It's a busy time, trying to get everything in line from practicing your football team, preparing them for the season, and getting things lined up with your facilities and athletic maintenance workers and everything else. I was just sitting there visiting with our facilities director, Mike Gibson, trying to get everything in line for this coming scrimmage tonight.
Who are you scrimmaging tonight?
We scrimmage Pine Tree. tonight at 7 o'clock here at Lobo Stadium.
I imagine that there will be a couple of people out there to watch the game. You are in charge of a program that has perennially high expectations, a team that expects championships, not just from a district level, but from a bigger level as well. For you, now entering your 13th season at the helm of the Lobos, is it pressure? Is it expectations? How do you deal with the fact that there are people in Longview who really, really care about how well the Lobos do on Friday nights?
Well, the expectations are always high in Longview, and that's what makes it one of those unique jobs. And yeah, there's pressure that comes along with it, but like I tell people all the time, I'd a heck of a lot rather be expected to win than expected to lose. And nobody puts more pressure on it themselves and these coaches and players. I mean, that's just part of the job and part of the place we're at. It's a special place, and the community loves Lobo football and very supportive of it. And they expect to win, and that's kind of the mindset our football team has and our coaching staff. We do expect to win, and we work extremely hard to make sure we give ourselves a chance to do so.
When you look at your squad this upcoming year, I think a lot of folks would take a look at the fact that you've got only 2 returning starters on offense and 2 returning starters on defense and say, oh, well, Longview may be taking a step back. But if you dig a little deeper, a 10-0 JV team, a lot of really talented youngsters. When you maybe compare this team to teams past, is there a team that you think this particularly compares to?
Well, it's been a couple of different years. It kind of compares to our 06 team, the 2010 team. It was coming off some great years and lost a ton of senior talent. And, we had very few starters back. But, we've kind of been through this before. But we've got a program. We just don't coach a good team. We coach every team, and we build it from the ground up, starting when they come in as middle schoolers. We work with them there with our middle school coaches, and we've got a plan when they show up as freshmen. And regardless of wins and losses in the sub-varsity level, I mean, we try to build for the ultimate, and that's the varsity competition. But I'm very proud of the way we've got it set up from top to bottom. It's great support from our school administration and our community to buy in to what we have to offer, from the facility aspect to the ability to hire a full-time strength coach and have great athletic trainers and tremendous coaches that we can keep on staff. And when you're able to retain those people, I think it really helps the process of building a program and maintaining the program.
You've got a number of fascinating players, and I'm gonna make you struggle here because I know you just hate talking up your kids. But one guy who's obviously very interesting to us, Travion Webster. A do-it-all type athlete, a guy who at his junior year or his sophomore year played running back. His junior year, he was a free safety. I guess my question is twofold. First and foremost, where the heck are you going to play him? And secondly, how much of a luxury is it that I get to ask that question, where the heck are you going to play him?
Come to a game and find out. We're going to move him around. He played quarterback as a freshman. So, he's played a little bit of everything. But he's a tremendous football player. He's kind of out of the same mold as Traven Howard, who's at TCU, who's on a lot of the watch list, this year. He's the same body build, same type of player, very intelligent and very physical. So he started to figure it out at the end of the year last year at free safety and played tremendously for us down the stretch. And we're hoping to get that same style of play out of him. But he is one of our big-time players, and you will possibly see him on offense some. And we've worked him some throughout spring and in our 7-on-7 stuff. He played a little bit of both. But we're proud to have him on our team. And, of course, he's earned everything he's gotten, and I think big things are ahead of him.
John King keeping it close to the vest here on DCTF Live, making sure not giving anything away to Lufkin or Marshall or any of those district foes.
Todd Quick knows me better than I know myself.
You of course, when people think of Longview football, I think they think of ground and pound. They think of that pro-eye style and just grind you into dust up the middle. It seems like you've got a couple of guys that going to lead the way on your offense that way with Kendall Starling, your offensive lineman, and Jakravian Polk, your tailback. When you look at your kind of offense, when we talk about identity, Longview's certainly got an identity. More of the same this year?
Well, I think our offensive line will be a strong part of our football team. Kendall Starling, as you mentioned, he'll be a 3-year varsity player and 3-year starter. The guys that are figuring in as starters this year were backups last year on the varsity and got a lot of quality reps throughout the year. So they are a strong part of it, and a bunch of good kids, great attitudes, coached by one of the best in the game, and Tony Favara, a young coach that does an outstanding job. But a lot of people don't give enough credit to our tight ends. I think our tight ends are another dimension that a lot of people don't have, and David Ashley, our tight ends coach, does an exceptional job there as well. And that enables guys like the Craven Polk and Dravian White and Trajan Bush, Jesse Anderson, those guys to build up those yards. But no, we're not fixing to come out empty and try to throw it all over the yard. We're going to play typical Longview football. We call it big boy football. That's not a challenge or boasting, but that's just what we do, and our kids believe in it. And I guess I brainwashed them. They can call the short yardage play faster than I can. They know what we're fixing to do.
Here comes the dive. Yeah, we're talking with John King.
It's a hard dive, too.
We're talking with John King, the head coach of the Longview Lobos, here on DCTF Live. Get involved in the conversation, hashtag DCTF Live. Coach, you guys, district realignment, you guys got drawn into a pretty darn tough district. You mentioned 6 of the 8 teams in 11 6A were playoff teams last year. John Tyler, Rockwall, the Mesquite schools. When you take a look at District 11 6A, how do you make heads or tails of it?
There's going to be some good football teams staying at the house, and I hope we're not one of them trying to get one of those top 4. It's going to be difficult. John Tyler is loaded. Starts with a quarterback, Bryson Smith, and Rodney Webb at Rockwall's got a ton of kids back from a team that was 4 rounds deep and lost to Lake Travis. Mike Robinson at North Mesquite, they had a tremendous year, 3 rounds deep, first time they've been in the playoffs in a while. And Rockwall, Heath, Mesquite, Horn, I mean, solid football teams. And Tyler Lee's got a new coach. Mesquite's got a lot of pride in their program. They're going to be, trying to get back in the playoffs. And, heck, every week's going to be a battle. I don't think we've ever been matched up in this district with the Mesquites and the Rockwalls and Tylers, where everything is just so much parity in the league. I mean, it's going to be tough, and there ain't no weak sisters, and you got to show up and play.
You're going to be battle tested if and when you guys get into the playoffs. That's for darn sure. But first and foremost, you guys are running through a brutal non-district schedule. You open the year at Lufkin, a good old East Texas tussle. How quickly, we're still a week away, and I know you've got a scrimmage tonight, but how quickly do you turn your attention to Lufkin, and is there anything that you see from them so far that you think, okay, we got to watch out for that?
Well, we've played Lufkin so much in the last 10 years, and we've played them twice the last 2 years each year, so we know what they have coming back, and we've seen their sub-varsity level, so they're going to be talented. I'm going to tell you, they're back to being the Lufkin of old, and they had a little lull there where they didn't have quite the quality of players that they've been having. I mean, everything's kind of cycled through, but it's cycling back upwards. I can tell you, they got some great young kids. Todd's a hell of a coach, but I can tell you, our focus will flip to Lufkin tonight as soon as those lights turn off in that stadium. But we haven't done any preparation for Lufkin. We have an idea what they did last year, but when we swap tape and after the night's game, and we'll get an idea of personnel and maybe what they're doing differently, if anything. I just think it's going to be, that season opener, you're going to see typical Longview and Lufkin. There ain't so many ways to skin a cat. We've played 79 times, and we've skinned it about every way you can skin it.
And one last question, Coach, before we let you go. Your stadium, Lobo Stadium, of course, known for rocking on Friday nights. It's also known for another thing with us kind of nerds, is that the popcorn in the press box is relatively legendary. Are you familiar with this, and can you reveal the secret to the Longview popcorn?
LISD food service. That was the popcorn. But I can tell you what, I've eaten more than my share on Thursday night. Or playoff. I love watching playoff games and eating popcorn up there. And it is pretty good. I can tell you that there's some legendary press box meals too for home games now. I can tell you they can put a spread on you.
Listen,
but just the friendly confines of Lobo Stadium, man. take care of people that want to come here and play, and all the media types that want to come cover it. We're here to play.
There are few places in the world better to watch a football game than Lobo Stadium, and a guy who will be coaching a lot there this year is the head coach of the Longview Lobos, Coach John King. Coach, appreciate your time. Good luck in the scrimmage tonight. Good luck next week against Lufkin, and I'm sure we'll be talking down the road. Okay, guys. Thank y'all. There he goes, John King, the head coach of the Longview Lobos. I had to get the popcorn question in.
Sure.
It is the thing that writers will tell you about the Longview Stadium.
Their
popcorn is...
Spreads are one thing, and that gets talked about plenty.
Sure.
But if you have a signature, right, that comes up a lot. And the popcorn at Longview is definitely
Matt Stepp has told us about going out to El Paso and how the home ec team will the home ec classes and teachers will just put out just a homemade spread of food, and how it's just incredible. So that's something that's important to us, and another reason why we like Longview. So another reason why we think they're going to be good. Is because the popcorn's good. That's
the key.
That's going to do it for us. Monday, we will be back talking football, and guess what? Game week. So, thank you for spending part of your day with us. Follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, and see our work at TexasFootball.com. Vince Young, please meet your Player of the Year trophy. We will see you on Monday for Game Week on DCTF Live.